that. I'm just saying. What y'all got for me?
Bobby, to come back here and be voted captain of the defensive side now for the seventh time as a Seahawk. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's humbling. It's a blessing. I really appreciate it for my teammates. Just being away for a year and coming back and, them still holding me in a high regard means a lot.
What do you think about a tidbit yesterday, last night? You were saying that you feel college, school for your master's program.
I did do that.
Go back and talk about when you made that decision and what was your major about that?
I made it pretty much when I was there. I was kind of deciding I just wanted to meet the presidents, meet the dean, and figure out how to make it work, obviously, because I got a day job. So my major in college was business, but I'm getting my MBA. Hopefully starting this January.
Bobby, looking at that game that you had with the Rams, does that change the way you approach a game with the Rams versus that
Obviously, I got to know those guys differently than going against them, and I think too, you get to learn people when you're going through hardships. So you got to see, people when they were doing, when everything wasn't going right, which I think that's when you kind of figure out who a person is. But for me, I've always kind of circled LA, not for any specific competitive reason, just because it's home, and so. Honestly, it kind of goes back to that, just being able to playing for my family, but they come here, so it's not really a thing.
You guys have been used to a lot of hardships given all the success you guys have had here. What was that like for the hardships?
We had some hardships. It was just a different form because, the hardships I've had here was people that I've been around for a long time versus it was kind of new. And so you was kind of figuring it out with people and things of that nature. But, things like that make you grow as a person, grow as a player, and I think I'm better for it.
How has that impacted your game planning perspective here? When you get to go against Sean Payton a lot of things in practice, which is different than going against some games, and they're obviously going to know you even better than what they did. So how do you think that impacts the game plan?
I just think it just makes the game more fun because you know them, they know you. You got to pick their brain on. I was asking them questions about things that they were doing against us when I was playing here. So, who would have thought that? Come back here and now, will they use those things? Will they not use those things? Will I switch something up? Will I not? So it's all chess, but it should be a fun game.
You were saying last time we talked to you that your last game on that field, regular season game at least didn't end well with injury. Have you thought at all what's going to be like just run out of that tunnel and play a game for the first time?
Nah, I got a glimpse of it. I'm in the preseason. Obviously, that last game when I was with the Rams, so I think it's going to be really, really cool. But my mind is just trying to figure out how to remain focused and put some wins up, a lot of wins this year.
You've played every season opening in your career at the position you played in, which isn't exactly.
I didn't know that. That's,
What do you attribute most to that? If you had to single out a reason why you had the longevity as a linebacker in this league?
I think consistency. I think the hunger for knowledge and the people that I've surrounded myself with, whether it's business, health, things of that nature. I think, I've had a lot of people help me throughout the course of my career, whether it's be on the football field or from my health perspective. And I think I just have a great team. I've worked with a lot of amazing people, and I'm really consistent on what I do.
At what point in your career did you realize the support in the off-field was so important?
I think it was I would say the first year, my rookie year, but I think I wasn't able to put words to it. I think I was just leaning on people, or I always thought it was weird when guys wouldn't ask people questions, or like linebackers that played in the league for a long time, they were like afraid to ask questions. I was never really afraid to ask Coach Norton or Ray Lewis or anybody that was willing to give me feedback, knowledge. Patrick Willis, London Fletcher, all these guys been great for me in my career and very helpful. So I'm pretty sure I'm missing some people, so please don't feel offended.
Do you ever talk to guys like Justin Houston, Devontae Davis, Brett
I talk to Levante pretty often. We always text each other before the season. We always check in at some point during the season and then after the season, for sure. Because me and Levante, we were roommates at the Senior Bowl, so he's somebody I always keep a close eye on.
What made you want to pursue an MBA now versus after you retired?
Why not? I mean, it's more of why not. Like I said, I always feel like this game is a special game from the standpoint of if you start in August and if you're lucky you end in February, and it's February till next August, you have a lot of time to do stuff. So I try to find a way to fill that time that's going to make me better, and I think that's just going to be it.
Bobby, was there something about the Rams, the way they do things, that impressed you once you got inside the building that maybe you wouldn't have seen from the outside, from the way they handle things, the way Sean does things, Steve Cooper, Aaron Donald up close, anything that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, seeing Sean up close was really really cool. See how he handled everybody. Like obviously too, like you see the good, but then see how he is during adversity. That was cool. Coop, it was cool seeing him. It was funny because I would always walk by him and he would be on his phone, and it was like for a long time. And so at some point I just asked him like, "What are you doing on your phone? Like it's just you always staring at it." And he was like reading, so he was always reading a book, and I thought that was really cool because it made me like, oh, I can read a book on my phone, and so that was cool. And AD is just AD. You walk in, he's on his like second workout. His shirt's barely on because he's popping out of his shirt. So I see him do 160s on a dumbbell, and I'm like, all right, let me try 140s. So
Curls?
yeah, he's pretty strong.
Bobby, what was your view from afar of Gino's emergence last year, and now that you've had a training camp with him as the number one quarterback, what have you observed?
From afar, I thought it was a lot of growth in like confidence. Obviously, when you don't have as many reps or like before, he got kind of thrown in there, but he wasn't the guy. But last year, he got a chance to be the guy, and you saw from afar. I've heard it, but like his preparation has always been consistent. I've always said like if you watch him prepare while Russ was the starter, like you couldn't tell the difference because he was preparing as if he was a starter. And so I think it was a natural transition for him to when he became the guy that he would just do what he normally did, but this time he would get the reps during the game. And so I think as the season went on, and even now, he more commanded of the offense, more understanding, more input, more knowing, where you want the guys to run on certain routes or when you want to check things. I think that's been the biggest thing is just his growth in that area and just being comfortable with this being his offense.
What do you feel like the identity of this defense is?
I think it's to be determined. I think, we haven't had all the guys out there yet. We know how we want to play. We know what we want to get accomplished. But right now, everything is just words. And so until we get out there and start doing the things that we want to do, stopping the run, being playmakers, flying around, we have to prove that. And so that's to come.
When you look at the run defense, from last year without you being in the middle, like, what stood out to you as far as the areas that were the biggest struggle, finishing 30th last year, and where you guys need to improve the most for this week?
Honestly, I just think it's just more so just being gaps down and playing with each other. I think a lot of the guys like first time playing with one another. It's really a feel thing, and so I think me coming back, I've been around Jordan for a while. I know he reads certain things. I know he does some certain things. I've been around Jay Reed. I've been around a couple of guys up front, and so it's a feel thing. It's a trust thing. Trusting the guy's going to be where he's supposed to be, trusting I'm going to be where I'm supposed to be, and we've been building that trust since I got back, and I feel really confident about where we're going.
Seeing Jordan come back as quickly as he has, what do you kind of find of that?
It's amazing. I hope we don't. I hope we don't just pass on it like this is not a big deal. That's a extremely big deal. Something that we should definitely applaud, definitely appreciate, definitely acknowledge, because that's not easy. Having that type of injury, coming back, being ready for the first game. Because I think when he got hurt, I don't think anybody thought that he was going to be ready for his first game, and to be in that position, looking great, moving great. it's an accomplishment in itself. So I really hope that we, as the world, don't just look over like that's a easy thing to do.
Pete said he had a meeting with you this morning. He said he doesn't usually comment on who he meets with, but he felt like there was a special exchange with you guys just talking about, you think coming back. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was just more so. It was more so. I was kind of doing what I normally do, just talking to some of the coaches as far as like scheme stuff, and I just kind of walked through his office. He was blasting the music, so I kind of just poked my head in there, and then we kind of just had a moment where we were like, man, like all the stuff that we kind of been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, to be in this position to be together, starting another season, trying to win a championship, is something that again we probably had a moment of appreciation.
What was the music you saw?
I think it was Rick James. It's either Rick James or Prince. One of the two. It definitely changed to Prince. I don't know what the first. I can't remember the first song, but it was loud.
Was this something you thought was possible a year and a half ago when you were released and left inside of another team?
At this moment, no,
I think you could end up back here.
no. At this moment, last year, no, I didn't think so at all. I wasn't even set on it. I just thought it was a chapter that closed. And again, I'm watching guys like Sherm, KJ, Cam, Cliff. I think the only person that really got a chance to come back was Bruce. And so I didn't feel like it was a possibility. But, God, he works in mysterious ways. So
Bobby, with such a young roster in the first year of rookies, do you feel the need to say anything, or do you just let them kind of find their way in the first game?
I think it's a combination between you say some stuff, you advise to an extent, but at the same time, you can let them learn your way. That's kind of how I was taught. I was just kind of thrown in the fire. The only thing different was the guys I was playing with was young too, like Sherm, Earl, KJ, all those guys are around my age. Maybe Mike Bennett was older, Cliff was older, but really it's more so in the moment. When you think, maybe you give up a play or maybe something happens and you think it's the end of the world. Having somebody there that reminds you like it's not the end of the world. Like I think that's probably my biggest contribution.
What are you hoping to get out of this season?
A lot of wins, a lot of growth on the defensive side, and being at the top of the league. Collectively together, we have the talent, we have the people, we have the coaching staff, we have an amazing city backing us, and I feel like it's possible. All we got to do is just do it.
Just to clarify, you read books on your phone now, or regularly?
I do read books on my phone. I still feel like I stare at my phone too much, so I step away from it. I'm more like listening to books during the season because I'm like watching film a lot or I'm looking at notes. So the last thing I want to do is look at a smaller version of that. So
What are you listening to? What are you listening to right now?
what am I listening to? Let's see. I am listening to Crucial Conversations, and I just finished The Firm. And I listened to The Score Takes Care of Itself, Bill Walsh. So, Audible, yeah.
What have you done
Audible, if you want to give me some free credits, if you want some free credits or, a partnership, I know a guy.
What have you thought of Julian Love since he's 18?
It's been great. I mean, I've watched some of his film, with him playing in New York. But he's really, really smart, really fast, makes plays, understands routes concepts really, really well, and it's gonna be fun to be out there with him.
When you say a guy's smart, can you tell that by what he does, or does he does something and he explains it to you, and then you're like, oh, okay, he's trying to do something?
I think it's the combination. Like when you're having a conversation with somebody, and you're able to talk back like concepts, whether it's a formation, whether it's a thing like like before a play, we're talking like, hey, what you think is coming? I think it's more so that it's that type of feel, and then like the being able to explain your thought process and seeing some of the stuff that he's able to see.
You talked about kind of letting the rookies
Does K9 count? I guess that's probably, yeah. He's probably the one because I feel when I left DK, tried to do the stuff that I was doing with DK with him. So then we all naturally kind of, when I came back, we all naturally kind of combined. So we like work out together. We talk about different things. He'll ask me questions about what I'm seeing or how he tries to hit the hole, things of that nature. So that's the person that comes to my mind off top.
Now that you played with him obviously before you left, and now that you're back, what's an underappreciated part of what Quandre does on the defense?
I don't want to sound cliche, but how smart he is. I think his ability to control the defense from the back end is always been really impressive since the moment he got here. And then the consistency on making plays. I think I don't know how many interceptions he had last year, but some of the catches that he was able to have last year were amazing catches. And I don't think people talk about him being the best safety in the world enough. And I think he has the numbers to prove it. I think he has the film to prove it. And so I think that's the kind of underappreciation is like sometimes he makes a play that's become so, like we become so used to it that we don't highlight it the way that maybe somebody else does.
Do you remember what you were thinking when you walked off the field after the Rams game last year, the final game that you played for them? I mean, were you just kind of thinking, I'm going to come back to LA, it'll be a good year? Or?
I was like, dang, we lost again. That sucks. Probably verbatim what I thought. And then like the room was kind of quiet, so it was like, all right, the season's over. What's the plan? I think my thought process went to like, all right, how can I be better next year? And so I just started working. I started doing. I don't think I took that much time off. I started doing yoga maybe like 3 or 4 days after the last game, and then figuring out what was going to happen. I knew there was a lot of things that were going to happen, a lot of decisions going to be made, a lot of changes, but that stuff I couldn't control. So until that stuff kind of started to unravel, then that's when I started to figure out what I was going to do.
Anything else? Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate it.